We have a population that is not reproducing it on its own with the same level that it used to. The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
3 weeks, there has been a lot of news under the surface about the SAVE Act. This is a bill to safeguard our elections and require proof of U.S. citizenship before voting, among other provisions. Now, our conversation on this started with Scott Pressler, who has been calling on Senate Majority Leader John Thune to allow a vote every day since January 1st. Earlier this month, Scott joined me here to make his case.
The American people demand Senate Majority Leader John Thune bring a vote on the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, and let's have proof of citizenship to register to vote. We have this one moment in history with Donald Trump at the helm with a trifecta Republican government. I say nuke the gosh darn filibuster, pass law after law after law.
That interview went viral and senators went into action. Senator John Cornyn said he spoke to Leader Thune about the SAVE Act. Senators Katie Britt and Dave McCormick signed on as co-sponsors. And several others, like Rick Scott, ramped up his support publicly. Here's Senator Scott last week.
However we do this, all right, whether it's part of the spending bill this week, whether it's a separate bill, whether we have to stay there, and do a standing filibuster, whatever it's going to take, we got to get this passed. We've got to secure our elections. I can't imagine a Republican senator that would vote against, making sure that you have to have proof of citizenship to register to vote and to vote. Now, how could anybody? I don't know how a Democrat could be against this.
Yeah. After that interview came an avalanche of support for the SAVE Act. You see it here. The tally now sits at 49 co-sponsors, and Senate Majority Leader John Thune said this week he will allow a vote.
They are still modifying the bill. It includes right now a requirement that you be a citizen to register to vote, but it doesn't include a requirement that to vote you be a resident. That's being fixed and addressed, and I think the new bill that comes out hopefully will deal with that. But at some point we'll have that vote.
Hey everybody, it's Tim Burchett. What is the SAVE Act? Or the Save America Act, whichever you want to call it. They wants to rebrand everything. It's just basically this. When you register to vote, you have to prove you're an American citizen. When you go vote, you have to show an ID. That's all it is. That's all it is. And the reason they don't want it is because they know they got a population of illegals voting. We see it. They say, oh, just prove it. Well, you can Google it. It's everywhere. These people, 10, 15 people registered to one address in Georgia. Just go down the list. It's all over. And they know it. And that's how they're stealing.
Look at this above my head. This is the 2030 apportionment forecast, which will be based off the 2030 census. So this is predicting if states will increase in electoral votes, decrease in electoral votes, or stay the same. If you pay attention, every single state that's decreasing in electoral votes is blue. Essentially, every state that's green is either red or trending red. You can argue or debate about Georgia, but my overall point still stands. This is terrifying for Democrats, and I'll explain why. This is also likely why Joe Biden let in millions upon millions of illegal immigrants and why we've seen Democrats fighting us so hard to enforce our immigration laws and deport these illegal immigrants. So 3 things are converging at once right now. The first one is people are moving from blue states to red states. The only reason California has been seeing consistent population gains is due to international migration to California. Americans are moving out of California to red states. And again, why is this important? Because of apportionment. So let's take this a step back and let's just talk about off the jump when it comes to presidential elections. Electoral votes. Republicans start at an advantage when it comes to electoral votes, meaning there are more solid red states than there are solid blue states. So depending on how you look at it, Republicans start with around a 240 electoral vote baseline before the election even really begins. That's baked in. Democrats start with around a 200 to 210 electoral vote baseline. Republicans already have the advantage there, and that's essentially just off the rip. So let's think about this. I'm going to go back a little bit. First thing, Republicans already have a baked in advantage when it comes to the Electoral College. They already start closer to 270 than Democrats do. Again, this is based off of solid red states versus solid blue states. Now, here's the second thing. Individuals are moving out of blue states and moving to red states, which then in 2030, from then on, for the next 10 years, it will increase red states' electoral vote baseline. So once 2030 starts, the advantage for Republicans will even be larger. Now, let's add the third thing, which is voter registration. Democrats are losing a ton of voters. Independents are gaining a ton of voters at Democrats' expense, and Republicans are gaining in voter registration. So now let's add those three things. Democrats have a lower baseline when it comes to electoral votes. The census shifts are going to lower their baseline even further when it gets to 2030. And they're having registration issues. They're losing voters. What is one way to offset this? Immigration. Remember, the census counts bodies, not citizens. So when Trump is deporting immigrants, this is harming Democrats because, again, they want to have a bunch of illegal immigrants in this country because it helps them protect the structure. They don't want to lose electoral votes. Well, if people are moving out of their states, what's the way they can increase their population? Import people. They don't want their baseline when it comes to electoral votes lowered. Again, import people. This is essentially one of the most effective ways they can fight back to stop the underlying structure from changing that would disadvantage them even further.
This clip was shared by Elon Musk on X, and it is going crazy right now because I don't think a lot of people really had a full understanding as to what is going on.
Yeah, he did an excellent job. And I would just like to say that Democrats go into anaphylactic shock when they come into contact with common sense. It is simply that you have to register, and when you register, prove your citizenship, and then when you go to vote, show an ID. It's a very simple idea, but I can see why they are so threatened by the idea.
Yes.
Democrats have been saying for years that demography is destiny. And if you understand that demography is destiny, what this gentleman just explained to us, not only demography, but now geography has become destiny. And I wrote a piece, I talked about it before, called Refugees on the Move. And it was talking about actually what we are seeing is a reverse in the 200-year migration scheme into urbanity. So if you wanted to look in 200 years ago, during the sort of the height or moving towards the height of the Industrial Revolution, people were moving from rural areas and from the South into urban areas in the North and in the Midwest, where all the factories were, all the jobs were. And that is what created the cities that we now have and created the urban culture that we now have. All of that came from that. What happened during COVID is COVID made everybody stop and everybody sit in their house for a second. And what people realized in many urban areas is that the promise of urban living had failed. You know, it was supposed to be great to live in densely populated buildings. And all of a sudden people were finding out that it was making them sicker. Their proximity to people and the sharing of the air and the ventilation systems was making them sicker. It was supposed to be wonderful to pay a tax to have a paper bag and not a plastic bag. Then we found out that, in fact, no, paper bags are porous and are more likely to hold the disease for longer. It was supposed to be great to not have your own car and to use public transportation. But then we found out that standing on a bus when somebody sneezes and you breathe in, it was making direct contact with the virus. So all of a sudden people said, you know what? I maybe want to go back to the way my grandparents lived. I want some more distance between me and my neighbors. I'd like to drive in my own car and have some sovereignty in terms of my travel. And I would like to be able to determine what goods and services, paper bags, and I eat that I want. And I want to live in a freer place where I can begin to make those decisions, not only just for my quality of life, but in COVID that are more likely to keep me alive. If you look in history, whenever the wealthy, there have always been viruses and plagues in society everywhere on earth, and they have always retreated to their country home. So a lot of people started making that shift. And when they realized that they could work from anywhere, they were like, look, I'd rather work where I'm working, but live someplace where I can have a higher quality of life. But I want to say, Chuck Schumer let the cat out of the bag. If you notice, he said we need to get the Dreamers the 11 million or however many there
That's right.
are.
Mhm.
So he
What he
knows
said.
it's more than 11 million. He knows that number is at the floor and they keep saying it, but it's really significantly higher. Democrats cannot win when there's a free and fair election. And I would like to say this: Republicans need to get off their demoralization, and none of this will mean anything unless they get people out to vote. And getting out to, you cannot rely on Donald Trump being on the ballot to win. At some point, Donald Trump has to exit stage left, and we still have to live here. So we need to actually take up the mantle and take up our own responsibility as citizens and get people out to vote, because the infrastructure is right for us. And the only people who can lose it is us. Stop talking about we can't win the midterms, and we probably won't get 2028, and we won't do this and we won't do that. We won't do anything with that kind of language. Get up and work for it.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, Celeste. Folks, this SAVE Act is it. If you are conservative, if you love America, if you're black, because as Celeste said, the reason why they are so against it, the Democrat Party is so against this SAVE Act, is because they want to bring in illegals, which they're already here. Now, President Trump is trying to get as many out as he can, but there's no way he's going to be able to get out all that Biden let in. It's no way.
Nope.
So they are trying, they want open borders. This is what the globalists want. This is what the Democrats want. And they want these illegals to come in and replace us. And guess what? It's not just the illegals. Folks, we're looking at New York City. All right. We got Muslim mayors all over the country, that are coming into fruition.
That's right.
They are changing many. And where are they going? They're going to these cities. All right. The city, as we knew it, is not going to look the same for our children and their children. That's done. It's not coming back. So they're changing this. They're changing the demographics. They're changing the cultures. They're changing it all. And the SAVE Act would somewhat stop it, because it would require you have an ID to vote. When was that controversial? When is this? You just need an ID. When
stupid became normal.
Yeah. When I was young, I don't know if you guys remember, I was a teenager. We couldn't walk around without an ID. Okay. And I was black when I was young, and I'm black now. That was the thing. You had to have an ID. If you weren't old enough to get an ID, then you had your student ID. Everybody got a student ID. So you always had identification on you. It's not a big deal. And majorities of Black and Hispanic voters support proof of citizenship requirements. What is tricking everyone is, again, the mainstream media and the Democrats are saying it's not about voter ID, it's about voter suppression. And so, when the Black folks hear suppression, they're suppressing my vote. No, we're trying to help you, because you're about to be replaced. Okay? You're about to be replaced. So, folks, we need to get on board with this SAVE Act that they're trying to put forward. Again, it's simply about requiring proof of U.S. citizenship. When you vote, anybody, if you're a U.S. citizen, you will be able to vote. And we have to get this codified. We really do. It's going to have a detrimental effect if we don't, not just on Americans and on whole, but on Black Americans.
That's right.
That part.
You're absolutely right, KJ. Allowing just anybody to vote is actually diluting your vote by just allowing anybody. So, I mean, if anybody should be for it, it should be all Americans, Black, white, Hispanic, doesn't matter. You should be 100% okay with making it mandatory to show an ID in order to register, as well as when you pull up to whatever school or wherever polling site you go to. I mean, you have to have an ID for everything else. There isn't anything that you can't do in America, especially, when it comes to, alcohol or the dispensaries or gambling or whatever else you want to do. Y'all okay with it for that, but y'all are upset about it when it comes to making sure that, the vote, our elections are free and fair. Come on now. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Crystal, I'll give you the next word.
So I want to explain something because I saw in the comments, people love to say with the SAVE Act, married women won't be able to vote. Why do y'all keep saying that? Why do y'all keep saying that? I'm not understanding. What are they telling y'all that y'all don't understand common sense? I'm just very disturbed by this statement. Yes, married women will still be able to vote. Again, you just need your ID. I don't understand why it's so difficult to understand. Again, as Wise just said, you find your ID to buy alcohol, go to dispensaries. Listen, every Thursday, let me back up. Every Tuesday through Saturday here in Atlanta, y'all know how to find IDs to hit up the club.
Hit the club, yep.
Find the IDs to go to the club, but y'all can't find an ID to go vote.
They're talking about when they're saying that there's a narrative pushed out that married women, if you just got married and you have not changed over your license,
right?
And I guess if it happens to happen right around an election, then you won't be able to vote because it won't match.
Not true.
Yeah,
and that's not true either, because if you have to do that, they will give you a form that tells like, hey, you have a change of name on your license. You show your old license and the new form, you'll be just fine. It's ridiculous.
And that's what people need to realize. The thing is, allegedly, but not. I watched James O'Keefe do that expose because I live here in Atlanta, and I know the communities that they went into where they knocked on the doors and they asked the illegal immigrants if they were registered to vote. They spoke to them in Spanish. They were undercover, so the people had no idea that this was James O'Keefe and their people. And the people said, yes, they came around. They gave us the stuff. Don't worry, we'll be able to vote. So when people are sitting here saying illegal immigrants don't vote, you are being ignorant or you're just lying to yourself. One of the two. When Tim Walz passed that bill to make sure that illegal immigrants in his state had driver's licenses, again, or that was all they needed to go and vote. And then they even had a whole hearing, an oversight hearing in Minnesota to say, hey, so what happens if these illegals come in and go to vote and they present this ID?
No, that won't happen.
He says, well, we would hope they would let us know that they're here legally. Why would they tell you that? Why would they tell you that? Like, come on now. They're already lying to you. They already snuck into. Do we really trust their character? They snuck into the country illegally, but we're going to trust that they won't vote in our elections? Y'all have to understand. This is, again, like everyone is saying, to water down the vote, replace the black vote. I'm telling you that right now, it's to replace the black vote, because too many black people said that they were tired of the Democratic plantation and they picked themselves up and left. And so they're like, we need to backfill, because we had the black people on lockdown. Now they got up and they left us. Y'all need to pay attention to all that is going on. They are trying to keep us suppressed. They keep saying, they use the buzzwords as suppression and oppression. I want y'all to go watch a video on my channel where I showed the white liberal what they think of black people when it comes to voting, because it's very interesting where they sit down and say, well, black people, it's racist to ask black people for ID because black people can't get IDs, but black people don't know how to use the internet. They don't even know how to get to the DMV. They don't even understand what it means to get a computer. They can't navigate it. This is what white liberals are saying about black people. So I want y'all to understand that they think that you're inferior, and you are actually falling in line with that mindset when you sit down here and say that it is racist to ask you for ID.
You're a pet. You're a pet.
I have a friend in New York. And he did this whole thing. He went to go vote. He wanted to give them the ID, and they're like, we don't need an ID. He was like, why not? And they were letting people in. I'm gonna say allegedly, because I'm protecting Wise's stuff. Allegedly, I saw it, but allegedly. And
you allegedly saw it.
Exactly. He was reporting it. He recorded. He reported. He was out. He called everyone necessary, because they were letting people in without showing ID to go and vote. They didn't care. And so when y'all are saying that this is not true, you're being ignorant or you're lying to yourself, one of the two. And this is ridiculous because this is our elections. This is our country. We are Americans. We're supposed to be protecting these things because this is our home. I don't understand why people don't get that. This is our home. We're supposed to protect everything in our home. You won't let anybody just run up in your house and take over your house. You won't let anybody else come in and do these things. Understand, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And right now, the liberals are working with the spirit of Islam to come and overtake America. And they're going to do all that they have to do, even if they don't like each other. Because again, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And if that means making our elections have election integrity concern, that's literally what they're going to do.
First, I need to tell you this. The one thing I think kudos for them for making this major move to do away with this craziness that's going on in our elections and people being allowed to vote without being American citizens. However, I want to make one caution that we had better make sure that we have a way of detecting true from false IDs, because you got a whole lot of activists that are producing IDs and they're going to try to find a way to get these people IDs. We've had it going on as it was before, and they will do this. They don't care. We know they have no respect for our nation. They have no respect for laws, and they are desperate for power. So we have to have checks and balances in place, not only to make sure people have ID, but make sure those IDs are official, and that there's a way to detect the official ID from those fake ones, because they will produce multi-billions of fake IDs to get these people in. That's my main concern. So I thank God for what you're talking about here, though. This is so important that we have to push back and we have to take a stand, and we have to do it because we're defending our own nation. We're defending our own state. I appreciate people like you that are aware of what's going on. And like I said, stupid has become the norm now. And we have to find some way to get through to these stupid people, because they will destroy our nation if we let them. They will completely destroy our nation if we let them. And if we keep letting them define things that are like this, that are just and right, as wicked and evil, as against democracy, a threat to democracy, we have to stop letting them play this game with us. We got to nail them every time they do it, because that's where their power is at. They have got some people so convinced now that right is wrong and wrong is right, and they're willing to die for it. Taking their kids out to march. I mean, this is crazy. Putting their kids on their back and taking them out to go to these protests. The mentality, we see it's not stable. So we've got to make this clear to the public that you cannot produce and promote instability and expect our nation to last.
Okay, great. A couple things. Number one, it's interesting that we have these discussions, particularly how the left will play this against quote unquote Black people in particular, the scary boogeyman of an ID. Well, it's interesting that the credit card companies figured that out years ago. You know what? You can get an ID on your credit card because JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they want to come after you when you owe them their money. So follow the money. There's no big deal of that. You'll get your face on a credit card, but you can't get an ID to go vote. To Crystal's point, here in Maryland, you don't have to have an ID to vote either. You can just state your name, your address as two verifiers, if you will. They don't refuse your ID, but you are not obligated to show one, even in Maryland. So that needs to get changed too. To the specific point of the SAVE Act, I also have been advocating, if you will, or waiting for this debate in the Supreme Court on the American Birthright Citizenship Act, because who is defined as an American? If we do not clear that up and codify that, then I think all of this is going to be a moot point. We're going to be back in the circle again and again. Remember, we've had amnesty at least since 1986 when Ronald Reagan was in office, and we still have not all those people that were supposed to be grandfathered in. How come all these people still out here years, decades, not even just recently, but decades without becoming an American citizen? These amnesty laws, they really don't work. They only promote more people to come illegally, and then they get the clauses and the carve outs and things like that. And then we have 4 years ago, 10 millions of people are here, and we can't even account for all of them. We need to, number one, define who we are as Americans, what it means, so that if we need to have a constitutional convention to say that only American citizens are counted and not just anybody, then let's do that as well, because these things are all one and part of each other, and they will stack on each other to benefit Americans. Okay.
Amen.
This accounting bodies, Fine, count bodies, but that means including illegals. If you include illegals in the count, that means working Americans are going to be taxed more to pay for the illegals. We're still going to get the same old mess. Define who we are, count Americans only, get the illegals out, and let's put this into law. And let's hold our politicians, our elected officials to account to do so.
I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. What are your thoughts? Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on to all so you never miss an upload. Consider joining the ARP family or buy your brother a coffee. That link's in the description box below. Join us Tuesday, Friday for ARP in the morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come check us out if it's your first time in the chat. Please let us know so we can properly welcome you to the show and to the stream. And as always, I appreciate the support, man. Keep God first. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you guys next time. Peace.
It is God who arms me with strength. Yeah, I'm battle ready. He trains my hands for battle. My heart stays steady. But thanks be to God, he gives us the victory. Through my Lord Jesus Christ, fear can't live in me. I was down to the dirt, red clay on my shoes, old pain in my shirt, oh so bruised. And the Lord hit my chest, kicked death from my breath, put power in my step.